Now I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. I'm gonna keep it a buck. All right. So some of y'all acting real scary right now. Some of y'all acting real scary right now. And I say that with love. I say that with love because I say this because I want you to be able to overcome this fear. I want you to be able to stop acting so scary when it comes to being in a relationship. And in this video, I'm gonna break down specifically why fear is killing your relationship. Fear is actually like a little mind killer. Fear will keep you from developing anything that's healthy. Fear will keep you from getting that person that you deserve. Fear is going to hold you back. And in this video, after watching this, I submit to you that after watching this video, the fear, if you follow these practical steps, the fear will be eliminated from you to be able to be in healthy relationships. All right, so let's get right into it. So when we talk about fear in relationships, and the reason why I want to bring this up, because it is so common. It is so common. I see this every week in my practice. I see this every week in my practice where folks come to me and they may not even really know it. They may not even really know it. They come to me and they'll talk to me and they'll be like, well, T, I have this person I'm interested in, and when I'm trying to, I don't know what it is, I can't get to that next level with them. Like I have trust issues. I have things I don't know if this person's the right person for me, if this person doesn't make enough money, or we're just not vibing, we're just not clicking. You have to understand that when you're in a relationship, it is going to be a risk associated with it, right? And when we talk about when you have a risk associated with you getting into a relationship, what happens is you're going to have some fear. It's not uncommon to have fear, first and foremost. It's not uncommon to have fear. It does hold you back, but it's not uncommon. And I'm speaking not even just from a licensed therapist standpoint, but also from my own experience. I remember I had this big fear of being married. I had this huge fear of being married. And what it came from for me was I never really saw a successful marriage. I never saw a marriage that I really wanted to be in. I never saw somebody actually loving somebody for a lifetime, because the commitment is till death do us part. I had this huge fear about getting married. And it wasn't until I did my own work and that part of me had to break a bit for me to have a different perspective on what marriage actually is. Because what I had to realize was the marriages that I seen weren't healthy marriages. I just seen them as like, okay, these are the only marriages I've ever seen in my life. And I see that as being a good marriage. Like, why would I want to be married to somebody if I seen so many divorces? Why would I want to be in a marriage when I seen what my parents went through with their marriage? Why would I want to be in a relationship or in a commitment for life if I seen so much damage done in marriage? Like, why would I want that for myself? Why? Why would I want that for myself? That's the question I had to, the fear for me associated with even just being in relationships was that ultimately relationships should lead to marriage. It should lead to marriage. It always doesn't, but it should lead to marriage. So I had to really break that part of myself in order for me to really grasp the concept of what marriage actually is, and really grasp the concept of like how to be a good husband, how to be a good partner. What does it take as a man to be something that I've never seen before? What does that look like? It's something that I had to really, I had to give to God, really. I had to give God the glory and the grace to just really mold me. And I'm continuing to be molded. I'm not saying I'm perfect at all. I will never be perfect. I'll just put that there. I'll never be perfect. I may be perfect in other people's eyes and 10 out of 10, whatever, but I am not perfect. I will never claim that I'm perfect because that doesn't leave room for opportunity for me to grow. Now, the fear associated with it a lot of times is what we seen growing up. What did we see? What did you experience when we talk about relationships? Did you see people actually being in healthy relationships to the point where you're like, I want to be like that person, or I want to be married like them? And sometimes sometimes what happens is you think you get, you may idolize, not I should say idolize, you may admire somebody so much to the point you're like, oh, I want to be like them. And then you actually see all the stuff they go through. And you're like, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with that. So when we talk about fear in a relationship, I just want to let y'all know that it is common. It is common. We have to understand where it comes from. We need to stop being so scary and understand where it really comes from, because the fear relationship isn't always obvious. It's not always obvious. It's not always like, oh, okay, point A to point B, or I put in the map of overcoming my fears in the GPS system, and now I understand where it comes from, so I can reroute and go this way. It doesn't always happen like that. It doesn't always happen like that. Sometimes fear in relationships is so subtle, and I say so subtle because it can be, for example, like you shutting down in an argument. That can be an example of how fear is associated with you being in a healthy relationship. Meaning that, say for example, if you're in an argument, you shut down, right? What does that say? It says like you're either passive, you don't want to stir argument, you don't know how to communicate. And it also may be that fear, additionally to those things, that you don't want to cause any more additional trouble. Right. One thing that a lot of fear comes in associated with relationships is conflict. We have to understand that conflict is part of healthy relationships. Conflict isn't necessarily a negative thing. I know we see conflict as like a negative thing because we see conflict as like you arguing with somebody, or you get into a fight, or you got beef, or you got an issue, you got a pressure issue with somebody. But that's not what conflict really is. Conflict can come from being in a disagreement with somebody, maybe having some healthy dialogue around it, and being able to come to a healthy resolution. This is where we talk about conflict resolution. The fear associated with conflict in a relationship is that if you say anything, or if you're verbal about something, that you're automatically going to cause conflict, which you probably will cause conflict, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to end in like arguments or end in a breakup. And, sometimes it may reveal some things, whether or not you need to be in a relationship with this person or not. But conflict is part of it. So don't have that fear that conflict is going to come with a relationship. It's better for you to accept that conflict is going to happen in a relationship as opposed to trying to avoid it. Because when you're trying to avoid it, and when it comes to you, you're going to reject it. And when you reject it, you're not allowing yourself to grow from having a dialogue and healthy conversations around conflict. So don't try to avoid conflict. Rather, accept that it may happen. All right. So understanding too, where does the fear come from? For a lot of us, fear can come from not only what we've seen, like I was saying before with even just my example, but what we experience. We don't have to necessarily see somebody go through something. We probably went through it ourselves. So when we're in these moments right now of trying to understand where the fear comes from, the fear actually can come from a lived experience, traumatic experiences, failed relationships in the past, or you've already given your heart to somebody and it's hard to give your heart to somebody else. Now, when this happens, a lot of times the issue, and I see this in my practice, the issue is that you're trying to move forward without you actually like doing the work to move forward. Meaning that your heart's broken, you have this fear, and you're trying to have a corrective experience by getting into another relationship. And the issue with that is, corrective experiences can be good. They can be healthy. It's good to have a mindset of like, okay, well, this one thing happened to me once, and now that it's happened, I'm gonna give it another try and see if it works again. But when you're trying to have a corrective experience, you have to go through that situation with a different perspective, a different insight. You have to go through that experience as a different person. You have to go through all of that as a different person. You can't go through a corrective experience being the same person you was before. You can't expect to go through a corrective experience by being that old person you were before and expecting a different result. That's strictly the epitome of what insanity is. You're trying to be your old self in this new experience to expect that new experience to breed this new self of you. It doesn't work like that. The math don't math with that. When it comes to where overcoming that fear, you have to be open to working on yourself. You have to be open before you even try to go into that corrective experience. You have to have that open mindset of, okay, I know something is going to be broken in me that I've been holding on for a very, very long time, but you have to make that commitment of, I am willing for that thing to break, for me to go through this new experience, for me to actually have a healthier relationship. You have to be able to have that mindset. Again, you can't expect your old self to go through this experience and change you. You have to be open to that change first and foremost. You have to be open to that change. Because if you're not open to that change, then that fear in that relationship and those fears that you had as that old person, you're trying to go through this new relationship and you're trying to go through this new thing and you're like, oh, but you still have all these fears. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. You have to work on those experiences, traumatic experiences, or those past experiences, heal from that, reconcile with that, grapple with that, work through that before you try to get into something else. Trust me, I had to do the work myself. I know how difficult it is. I know how difficult it is to be in so many failed relationships due to your own wrongdoing and have to really step back and look at the man in the mirror. I know what it's like for me to break down and cry, looking at myself, knowing that I had so much baggage within myself that I was not able to really carry it no more. I know what it's like to feel as if, like, as a man, as a person, as a human being, that I am a failure when it comes to relationships. I know what it's like. I know what it's like to be rejected. I know what it's like to be cheated on. I know what it's like to cheat. I know what it's like to have all these experiences. But there comes a point in time that you have to realize that the things that you did in relationships in the past no longer serve a purpose moving forward. You have to realize that all the trauma that you experience, even especially from childhood, the things you experience, seeing other failed marriages, other failed relationships, you going through failed relationships, you being hurt, you hurting people and all those different things, that part of yourself has to break. That part has to break in order for you to be in healthier relationships. You have to allow God to work through you in that. You know, therapy plus prayer. I'm gonna cut the video off right now. I'm done. I promise you I'm done. I don't think I've even got halfway through, but I'm gonna probably do a part 2 because I feel like I'm hitting a whole different point across. But we'll stay on topic because I know this is what y'all came to see, why you need to stop being so scary and why fear is killing your relationships. But all the trauma, you have to realize, is what's inducing the fear. If somebody socked you in the face once and that same person came to you again and socked you twice, that third time, you're not going to come at that situation naive. You're going to expect something to happen. So that's sometimes the same thing in relationships is we have this fear of being hurt again. We have this fear of, that we need to overcome. But when we see a relationship, it's so triggering. It's so triggering because it's so hurtful. Yes, relationships that take a risk. Yes, it does take work. But you have to reevaluate where your fear is coming from. Go to therapy. Get some community. Get some guidance in all this because you can't do it by yourself. I'll be a testament to myself. Even though I was going through all my situations, even me being a therapist, I can't be my own therapist. I can't do this work by myself. I can't carry that. And I won't even allow myself to do that because that's dumb, in my opinion. That's like foolish, in my opinion. You know, God puts us in positions to seek wisdom, not to continue to do foolish things. So fear in relationships can be overcome. You can't allow old experiences, old traumas to hold you back and have that definite, concrete mindset of, I can't be in a relationship, or I wasn't meant to be in a relationship. Work needs to be done, but it's up to you it's up to you if you want to do the work or not. Point blank period. It's up to you whether you want to do the work or not. Because if you don't want to do the work, that's cool. That's fine. But don't expect, again, like trying to have a corrective experience. Don't try to expect to have a corrective experience and have a different result. Be able to communicate those fears. Give yourself an opportunity to really get into therapy, get into healing, get into this healing mindset, and understand that things that you're doing previously isn't going to work anymore. Be honest with yourself in this moment. Check in with yourself. Make sure you're telling yourself the right stories, because just because you're cheated on or you cheated before, just because you've seen failed marriages, just because you've seen other people get divorces, that does not have to be your story. It will be your story if you allow it to be your story. It will be your results if you allow it to be your result. It will be your destiny if you allow it to be your destiny. But if you're able to make a mind shift and you can change your belief system around that, you're golden. You're golden. You will have healthier relationships moving forward. Now, I want to remind you, it's not easy. I'm speaking from a testimonial standpoint. It's not easy. It takes work. It's very complex to disassociate fear from a relationship. It's very complex because it could come from so many different areas, but that doesn't mean that you can't have healthy relationships. It doesn't mean that you can't move forward. We're reminded, and I'm gonna close with this verse. I'm gonna close with this verse because I want to leave you all with something. If you guys don't get anything out of this whole video, if you don't get anything out of this whole video, I want you to understand this. In 1 John chapter 4, verse 18, it says, there is no fear in love. All right? Perfect love casts out fear. So, love and fear, if you're thinking about it from the biblical standpoint, they don't mix. They don't mix. Love and fear does not mix. There's no fear in love. Perfect love casts out fears. If there's anything else I said in this video, take that with you. Please take that with you. And that doesn't mean, again, that you won't feel fear. It doesn't mean you won't feel fear. It just means that you have to give love a chance, because love is courage. Love is kind. Love keeps showing up. And love is ever flowing. Fear can kill you from having a healthier relationship. I appreciate y'all for tapping in. If this resonated with you, I got some other videos right here y'all can check out in regards to faith, mental health, and relationships. I appreciate y'all for tapping in. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, do all those great things to keep these videos rocking and rolling. Until next time, y'all take care. Peace.